Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our series of Ramadan interviews. So, in this series, I'm reaching out to a group of people that I hold near and dear. They are clients or people that we've met, as well as training associates, sifus, gurus that I really admire and respect, just to get their views on how people can support each other during the month of Ramadan, and particularly how companies can support managers of teams during this blessed month. And today, I'm very pleased to have with me someone who's very dear to my heart, really, and who helped me a lot when we were starting up 95%. Uh, a long name, but very, very much well known as good old Juara, who's the co-founder of NeoOne, together with his beautiful wife, Yasmin. And I think they're doing amazing things in what they call the Republic of NeoOne. I think they're really building a community that's like a republic. So very warm welcome. Let me stop share so that we can see you.
Right.
Hello, Juara. A
Hi,
very
Janet.
welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how has it been? How has the MCO been for you guys so far?
The first 2 weeks was a bit of was a bit of an up and down, a challenge. But I think we were lucky in a way because we had the announcement when they made the announcement. We had that one day to before it came. So I think that one day actually helped us a lot. So we were able to do a lot of the planning and all that on the one day with the team. So moving into the MCO, it was a blessing because I think we didn't struggle as much as some people did because we were able to sort of do a little bit more planning rather than going in and then just waiting what will happen. So it's a bit that way. But the third week, we are we are getting a lot better, and I think we are not as agitated. Yeah, we are in fact the third round of extension, didn't really uh, affected as much the
Mm,
announcement. Yeah.
mm. And kind of like everyone's kind of like getting used to it, settling into a rhythm, like it or not, but we're settling in, getting used to it.
Yep.
I think it's just amazing how human beings can adapt to whatever situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who have just joined us, I'm having the pleasure of being with my good friend Juara, who is the co-founder of NeoOne, and today we're going to explore how companies can support their people who are observing the month of Ramadan. So maybe Juara, you can share with us. It's been a few days into Ramadan already. How has it been for you and your
Hmm.
family?
Okay. For us, we are still keeping to the same routine. I mean, even without the MCO, Ramadan has always been a time when we actually look forward to because in terms of work, we find it we become a lot more effective, a lot more focused. Yeah. And surprisingly, it's never a slow down time for us. It's always been so we are keeping to that. The only difference, I guess, now is so in terms of the founders, there are three of us. We are still keeping to the same pace as what we used to, even without the MCO during Ramadan. But for the team, I think it's a new experience. And yeah, so far it seems to be quite a rewarding one for them. Yeah.
Nice, nice. What makes it so much more effective and productive during Ramadan?
I think those for me personally, those moments where you say go like, oh, I need to stop to have my breaks, or I need to stop to have my lunch. But it's not always just stopping to have lunch. It's also where do I need to go and eat, and then that travel time, even though walking. So in the end, it just disturbs the rhythm of work. So I think the most is the disturbance of the rhythm that actually makes it less effective. Whereas during Ramadan, your rhythm is not broken. You start and your rhythm continues until the break of fast. So I think that rhythm is the one that makes it more productive.
Mm. So, how long is a typical working day then? So I know some people tend to get so stuck on their computer and just work without stopping for a break until there's a high chance of burnout.
Mm.
How do you stop yourself before you burn out?
Right. So for us at NeoOne, one of the first things that we have done and we continue doing even after the Ramadan, and it's just a tweak, is that every day there's always a check-in and check-out. So we always, the whole team will check in uh, at sharp at 9 in the morning, and this is done every day, every day. So we started this culture online even on the first day of MCO. So we are going to continue it. The only difference during Ramadan is that the checkout. So previously, the checkout is, I mean, our working. So one of the things that we decided to do when we moved into MCO was that trying to bring in as much of the same culture offline online. So because we did not want to create a new culture of working, because as it is already the platform is different, etc. So why not reduce the anxiety by bringing in some normality from on offline to online.
Mm.
So one of the things that we brought in is this idea of check in and check out. So our checkout is depending on their work hours. Yeah, our checkout, they cannot check out more later than 6:30. So which is normally in at work also we do that. They will always leave the office by 6:30 unless there's truly an urgent matter that needs to be handled the day before. But the time to cut off is at 6:30 offline. So we treat the same here. However, during Ramadan, the 6:30 checkout is now at 5:30.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask about that. 6:30 is like, oh, so close to buka puasa.
No, yeah. So that's the only tweak that we have done. But in terms of the mechanism, it's the same mechanism. The check-in and check-out that we have already implemented from day one. So during Ramadan, we still continue that. It's only that the checkout time is 1 hour earlier.
Mm. So, and what I'm hearing is that you're trying to bring back the familiar rituals so that there's a sense of normalcy. It's
Yes.
not too disruptive and not too many changes for people to go through.
Yeah, and based on the feedback from the team, they really like it because at least there is a reminder of them that there are different parts of their day.
Mm.
Without that kind of a normality, it feels like it's just one stretch a day. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's easy to get lost.
it does. Yes, it does.
Okay, for those of you who are just joining us, welcome. This is our Ramadan interviews. It's a whole series of interviews with a range of different people, and it's really just trying to invite everyone to share what would be certain tips, certain insights that they can share, so that all of us can support our people better during the month of Ramadan. So here today with me is Juara, co-founder of NeoOne. And Juara, would you please share with us, based on your experience, some of the companies that you've been working with, what would you recommend to them? Certain practices that they can do just to be more sensitive to the Muslims during this month.
Yeah, I think first thing that I think conventionally would be like postings. I think posting when people are working more at home, I realize because so they spend a lot more time on social media. Right, so I think one of the things that maybe we could, one of the things that I think we can be more sensitive around is the postings, like the meals, yeah, the wonderful pictures of drinks and I think those are the kind of things that maybe we could be more mindful of. And I also feel that one of the other thing that I practice in our company, and I also would like to see it as something that other companies or other organizations practice, is to become more reflective over the period. Because by nature Ramadan is meant to be reflective, yeah. However, I also realized that a lot of the professional or the business culture, reflection is not something that is common in the corporate culture. So I think one way to continue having that spirit is to also use this time for the organization to be more reflective, yeah, and bringing in the reflective culture into the virtual culture or even the offline culture. So for example, maybe the corporate messages could be more reflective in nature rather than instructional, yeah, rather than announcements. Even conversations that we have with the people could also be more reflective in nature. So that helps and support the month of Ramadan.
Hmm. I think that's a really interesting point. Can you go a little bit deeper into or give us some specific examples of what can companies do?
Okay.
They say reflective. Some of them
Yeah.
be like reflect apa ni?
What is it?
Already it's so difficult to speak to people virtually. Like
I
reflect
know.
some more how?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So maybe I could give you uh, an example how we have done it. So maybe that's something that can help as well. So when we were approaching Ramadan, I mean, we had our own rituals. The normal rituals before Ramadan during the MCO, the virtual engagement, yeah, with the staff. But we also realized that Ramadan is coming, so how can we tweak the ritual in accordance to Ramadan? So we looked at what are some of the key points of Ramadan, and try once we identify those key points and bring it into our engagement. So, for example, as I said, number one, Ramadan is a reflective time, and number two, Ramadan is also a giving time, a time of giving, a time of contribution, a time uh, uh, of of donation, etc. But this the second part is something that is part of Ramadan, but it's rather difficult to do because you are stuck. So these two concepts, or the two contexts that we wanted to bring in to our engagement with our staff. So we looked at that, and we see how can we bring these two spirit in. Yeah. So one, for example, the reflection for us, one of the things that we do is, besides just sending out corporate information or instructions, during the month of Ramadan we have something called Renungan Ramadan. So Renungan Ramadan is basically just a short story. So this is the other thing. I think there's also because Ramadan is also it's a very religious month, but there's a lot of support around the religious element. However, some people it's also nice to have a mixture, of not just the hadith or the Quran and the translation. So our Renungan Ramadan is slightly different. What we do is every day we will set out to the team a small story, or an anecdote, yeah, that gets them to reflect about being a Muslim, being a good person. Yeah. So then, and also what we do is we bring that reflection, and then during our check-in we will then do a little bit of a debrief around that. So it's a some like sort of light reading. For example, like those Sufi stories that are sometimes mind-boggling and it's puzzling. You got to start to think a little bit. And those are the kind of stories that we put in as Renungan Ramadan. So
That's
so
so
that's
nice. So
yeah.
you actually then after that you have when you say a debrief, it's a discussion.
Yes, a
Everyone comes
conversation.
together and they're able to share.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the Renungan Ramadan. Then that takes care of the reflective element of Ramadan, but with a slight twist to make it a little bit more unconventional. Because there are the other materials that are available in Ramadan is mostly religious texts and all that, as you know, kan, eh?
Mhm.
That's one. The part of contribution. How did we bring it in? What we decided was that usually the giving part is where you go and give donation and all that, right? So what we have done is we have started this thing called Berkat Ramadan. Yeah, so Berkat Ramadan is blessings lah of Ramadan, and this is like a secret Santa. So where every day each one we assign a person in the team to actually help us to manage this. So we will get an SMS or a WhatsApp from her, and in that WhatsApp she will then tell us who are we to give to today for that particular day. But the person that is going to receive doesn't know who are they getting from. Yeah, so and each one of us will have ours we were given a secret person to give to for the day. So any time of the day they will then, I mean, they will be anticipating something coming, and that day so they might get something from, oh, you know, a friend or from me, and it could be anything. It could be a nasyid song that is currently no, no, it could be a free PDF, it could be a recipe that they're looking for. So one of the other things that we did before Ramadan was we had a session. One of the check-in sessions that we had, we actually asked them what are they looking forward to in the month of Ramadan. So from there, we hear from everyone. So from there, we sort of have a clue of what they are looking at. For example, one of our staff is she is excited because she wants to start baking this Ramadan. Yeah. So knowing that, so if I would, in my mind, if I would, when I get her as someone I'm going to give to, I might just send her, a package of, a cookie dough, or a recipe, so that's the gift. So that helps us contribute and give to one another. So that is berkat Ramadan for us in the company. But we've also extended berkat Ramadan to others outside. So how we do it is that since the start of MCO, one of the things that we have also implemented is this daily challenge. Yeah, so besides the work that they need to do, we give them a set of 8 challenges, 8 tasks for the day. And these are things that are, okay, so we call it ABDC. Not ABCD, but ABDC. Okay, the reason is because my team, they have a nickname for themselves. They call themselves the battalion. Yeah, so they used to be a group of ninjas. Now they are a battalion because we are getting a bit bigger. So ABDC is basically uh, a battalion daily challenge. Yeah, so the battalion is given a challenge. So individual. So what we do is we give them every morning they will receive a list of 8 tasks that they can incorporate into their daily life. Yeah. So the 8 tasks is divided into 3 is on one on body, something to do with the body, so physical and all that. One is to do with the mind, so learning something, body, mind, and soul lah, basically the 3. So spiritual, something to do spiritually, something to do physically, something to do intellectually. We also added in creativity into it because I think creativity is a very important element. And we also put in the 4 tasks. There are 5 tasks of leaders that we believe, but we only take 4, yeah, which is an act of contribution, an act of enrollment, an act of improvement, and an act of communication. So those are the 8 different kind of tasks. So every day they get new tasks, yeah, and it's not compulsory for them to finish all. It's just for them to sort of build it into their daily task to break the monotony. Number one, and number 2 is also for them to have small wins so that they get motivated throughout the day. Yeah, so we have already that. So during Ramadan, the act of contribution that you have the eight things, that item. So the contribution will then now become more Ramadan centric. So the berkat Ramadan will be put as to replace the contribution element. So that is also and that is usually not among us. That usually is a contribution to someone outside of the company. So it could be to a father, your father, it could be to your daughter, to your children, it could be to your neighbor, it could be to someone that you haven't talked to for the longest time. So yeah, so we are incorporating that into our normal routine.
What a lovely idea. I think I want to do this with my team as well.
Yeah,
It's really nice. Eight daily challenges. At first, I was thinking that, wow, that's a lot. There's a lot to do on top of,
yeah,
the real work. But when you explain it, it's like it's a challenge of contribution. It's a challenge of communication. Then
yes.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the feedback that we've been getting from the team is that they do like, enjoy, and looking forward to challenge because the challenges are also very practical. For example, the act of improvement is the challenge is find something that is broken in your house and fix it.
Mm,
So it suddenly becomes practical and becomes something that they're going to have to do anyway. You know,
nice.
uh, yeah. So the act of communication, as simple as spend 10 minutes talking to your dad about his past. Just which you're going to talk to your dad anyway. But now there is this element of deliberateness. There's this element of being mindful about the acts that we are doing in the day. So that was the idea.
Brilliant. Really inspiring and touching. I think this will really
Thank
go a long way to help people feel, to make this whole working from home experience much more enriching.
Yes.
Very nice.
Hopefully, yeah, yeah. But it has been, I mean, it's been working for us, and we are continuing it, yeah. And I think the other thing that also has helped is that very early on we have given a lot of um, the responsibility, or the empowerment to the team. Yeah. So, for example, another thing that we also do is that every time we check in, we have a wacky check in.
What's a
This
wacky check-in?
okay. So actually, it all started, when we started the first week of MCO, the first few days, we felt that the check-in was a bit dry. Yeah, so we thought that, okay, how can we like spice it up and get people excited about it, and has an element of them taking ownership and contributing. So what we did was we created a notice board, and we designate one person from the team to suggest a different way of checking in for every day of the week. So we call it the wacky check-in because most of the ideas are kind of wacky. Like, for example, one of the things that we did was we check in using a funny hat, or a hat that means something to us. So when they come in with the different kind of hats, and then you'll see all sorts of hats, and then we'll start having a conversation, chit chat before we actually check in. Then there was one check-in where all of us had to do a Mardi Gras mask, right? So we check in using a mask that we made. So those are the kind. So that also helps them feel motivated, and you can see the sort of the thread for each one. Some are a bit more romantic, their check in. Some are a little bit more like crazy out there. Some are so it helps to just spice up the day.
And it's also very good to constantly get people in the habit of being creative.
Yes, yes.
And that's
So
very
yeah,
much what you guys are all about. That's really wonderful.
so those are some of the things that we are doing, like, to engage our team.
Mm. Okay, so with Raya coming up in about a month's time, a bit less than a month's time, um, how do you think your team is going to be responding to that?
Yeah, I think we've already starting to talk about how is this Ramadan different than the ones before.
Mm.
So and we had already an insight of how some of our team members is going to be struggling, and I think this it, it 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 brings together the team, knowing the situation that is happening. Like, example, there are some of our staff that are from the East Coast,
Mm.
so there's no way they sort of already surrendered that there's no way they might have to go back, right? So the first day of Ramadan, when we were just sharing about how is this Ramadan going to be different, they were already emotions and tears among the team. So I felt really blessed for that, because very early on we now know. So we have 4 weeks until that day, but the feelings and emotions are so strong even now. So how can we as a team support, so that when that particular moment comes, all of us are in support of each other. Yeah, so I think one we haven't thought yet, but we are going to come together to have something like a virtual open house sort of a concept. We don't know how it's going to look like, but we're going to throw the idea so that we can bring this all together for our members that are not going to will be more taken back, or will be set back, because some of us are already with our family. I mean, they're staying with their family, so that doesn't seem to come out quite big. But for those that are not, it came out quite clearly on that check-in. So as a team, we are still thinking, but we will do something to support that.
Yeah. I mean, the balik kampung is such a special part of Raya, isn't it?
It is. It is. In fact, In fact,
once a year that they balik kampung.
yeah. And I think the other thing that I also noticed, Janet, is that because of the MCO, the 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 feeling becomes even more stronger, because okay, I'll give you an example. For example, we don't think of Raya on the first day of on the first day or two of the fasting month. We only think of really Raya like towards like second week, but the first week is always about Ramadan, so we're just focusing on Ramadan. But because of this MCO, that thinking of Fitri is coming earlier than usual. That's what I noticed. I was surprised actually when that came up on the first day of Ramadan. So one thing I realized was that it becomes even more pertinent and even more glaring of the last day on the first day when we are in MCO versus normal days. So I think that is something that maybe as organization we need to be conscious of, is that the anxiety of the Fitri is not is now being brought forward even further. So we are dealing with two things. One, the Ramadan anxiety or the issue. And now also being brought in is the anxiety of Fitri. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to you're dealing it one at a time.
Yeah. In normal times, you just need to worry about Ramadan, knowing that Fitri is when you can really enjoy and celebrate. But
Right.
now there's still so much uncertainty about the Fitri part of it. Will
Yeah.
MCO be lifted? Even if it is lifted, is it still safe to travel? When you travel
Yes.
home, can you still hug your relatives and
Exactly.
all that?
Yeah. So it's like being brought forward and magnified. So we are now dealing with two things. One is that as Ramadan is unfolding, and now as Ramadan is unfolding, is also Fitri is also unfolding. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I guess that there are no easy answers for that. But what companies, what teams can do is like what you guys have done, is to allow the emotions to come out early enough, so that people can express it. They don't have to keep it inside. It doesn't have to be a secret worry that they are hiding, but they're able to express it, share it with the team. And then that's a start. That's a start.
Yes.
And hopefully in the weeks to come, people will then find a way that, how can we stay together and provide that kind of love and support.
True. Yep.
A
Spot
very
on.
good insight.
Spot on. Yeah.
Very good
So,
insight. Thanks so much for pointing this out.
pleasure.
I don't think many people would have realized this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah.
so let's start to wrap it up. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're really very busy these days, but any last words that you would like to share with the managers of teams or leaders of companies out there?
Yeah. I think one I know is a concept or an idea that has been drummed so many times, but it's still, I think, pertinent. Is this thing about being empathetic with your team? I think is called for more and more, especially at this moment in time, and making making the abnormal, try to normalize as much as you can the abnormalities of the times. So yeah, so that would be my sort of idea to think about, is try to normalize the abnormalities, because when there are abnormalities, the team members get very anxious. So when you don't normalize it, it becomes even more stressing and agitated. Yeah.
Mm, very good. Okay, thanks for a lot of inspiring tips, Juara. Let me try to do a wrap up, and please do jump in if I've left out anything or if there's anything else that you'd like to add. I think the first thing, which is also the last thing that you said, is that in these uncertain times, to give people that sense of security, companies should try to provide some kind of normalcy, bring in some of the regular routines from pre-MCO times, or even pre-Ramadan times, so that people can feel that, okay, things are not totally quickly, there are some things that are still normal. And one of the things that you guys are doing is the daily check-in and check-out. So people know when to stop working and not get lost in the computer world.
Yep.
The third one is really nice, guiding teams to be more reflective and providing prompts or stimulus by sharing your Renungan Ramadan, the short stories and anecdotes, and then you would discuss them during the team meeting. Actually, I really like this idea. May I invite you to just share a little bit more about what were some of the insights that your team gained from this Renungan Ramadan?
So, for example, the first one that the first renungan that we did was a story about something that every one of us as a Muslim do regularly, which is taking of the ablution. Yeah, and that one, that story talks about a particular Sufi that doesn't just take ablution physically, but he also takes ablution mentally and spiritually.
Wow.
So it was it was an interesting concept. So when the team came back and reflected, they connected it to being excellence, to being excellent, because one of them was sharing about, yeah, I always do it automatically, but I didn't. When I read the story, I realized that whatever that I do, even how good it is, there's always a space for me to be even more excellent. So suddenly the renungan becomes not just about the religion, and it's also about self growth, personal growth, about work, about professionalism. So yeah, so that's one of the things that came out from that simple renungan Ramadan.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
You should actually compile all this into a blog post, or something that
yeah,
even the non-Muslims would benefit from this.
yeah. I think I should. Yeah, thanks for the idea.
Please do. Okay, next one is your Berkat Ramadan, because Ramadan is a time of giving, and this is so fun. It's like a Secret Santa concept where every day someone is appointed to give a surprise gift to someone else on the team. So you never know whether it's your turn today or someone else. Are you going to be the lucky one? And what was also nice was how you linked it back to their earlier sharing of what they were looking forward to during the month of Ramadan. I think what I'm taking out from this also is that if the team is constantly connected and constantly having this culture of open sharing, then dealing with all these changes will not be that much of a shock, because you will know people, you will know
Yes.
what moves them, what worries them, and you can then plan accordingly.
Yes.
Okay, the next one I also like very much is the ABDC challenges, 8 challenging tasks to complete every day. But I think this is, from the examples that you shared, it's what's going to make this working from home really, really special. Not only during Ramadan, but every day. It's just going to make it so much more meaningful. But don't tell my husband, if it's about fixing things or tidying things up, I'll have too long a laundry list. Okay, next one is your wacky check-in. Create a theme, create some drama, some fun, and it's also getting people to constantly work their creativity muscle. And the last
Yes.
point is that just be sensitive that for this year, it's a Ramadan, really a Ramadan like no other. And people are not only dealing with the stress and the worry of Ramadan, but also what's going to happen when Hari Raya comes around. Allow people to express what they're feeling and let the team come together to support each other. And I think that is going to make a big difference.
Yes.
Anything that you'd like to add to this, Juara?
No, you captured it perfectly. Yeah. I'm envious of the list. I also want the list.
It's your list.
I know you captured it very well. Thank you.
Thanks, Rara.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasure chatting with you. I've missed chatting with you. I've missed hanging out with you. So good to reconnect. Thank you
Yes,
so
same
much.
here, same here.
Um,
Thank you, Janet.
yeah, and just want to wish you, your team, and your family members a blessed Ramadan. And may you all have a Raya that is different, but still very much filled with love and connection.
Thank you. Same to you, Janet. Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. Say hello to Sunny.
Okay, will do.
Bye.